Hey, what's up, wrestling fans? And thank you for checking out the Jason A. Mark Wrestling Report. If you're a big wrestling fan like I am, please click subscribe on whatever audio realm you happen to be listening to us on. And if you could, please take a moment to rate, review, and share with a friend. Tonight, I'll be reviewing and reacting to the Smackdown that aired on September the 10th, 2019. Tonight was the night 2 of the big return of WWE to Madison Square Garden as they come back home to the house that Bruno Sammartino built. Last night's Monday Night Raw was kicked off by Stone Cold Steve Austin, and tonight they started out the show with an appearance from The Undertaker, my personal favorite of all time. So kicked off the show right as far as I'm concerned. The Undertaker was a bit reminiscent, much the way that Steve Austin was the night before, talking about the many great moments for him in the past. Taker said that he called the Madison Square Garden. He said that over the past 30 years that he's considered the hallowed grounds his home, and he's not sure how many times he's going to be able to come back home again. So pretty cool stuff for Taker to be back at MSG. Undertaker was then interrupted by Sami Zayn's music, another one of my personal favorites. I'm actually a huge Sami Zayn fan. He might be my number one favorite. Maybe. I don't know. I used to be a big John Moxley / Dean Ambrose fan. So, well, I still am, but my favorite WWE guy is probably Sami Zayn. It's either him or Ricochet or Kevin Owens, which is kind of funny because all three of them had very different styles. So, but those are my top guys right now. So anyway, Sami Zayn comes out and he says that there is a new generation. He said, well, first off, 30 years, good for you. He said, but there's a new generation of superstars, and quite frankly, that Sami Zayn should have been the one that was introduced and was kicking off the big show and the big return of SmackDown to Madison Square Garden instead of The Undertaker. He then literally asks The Undertaker to please exit the ring and let old Sammy take over. He said, trust me, everything's in good hands. Don't you worry. I got you. I got this. I got this whole WWE thing. Don't worry about it. And Taker kind of gives him the side glance and kind of does the head nod thing and taps Sammy with the microphone in the chest and acts as though he's going to leave the ring. And Sammy, his reaction was that, oh my God, that actually worked. Like, holy S, that actually, The Undertaker actually gave me the microphone and now he's leaving and I'm now standing in this ring. And Sammy's doing the over enthusiastic celebration, and Taker gets a glance of it. As he's leaving the ring, he stops and then comes back into the ring, and Sammy turns around to see The Undertaker hasn't actually left the ring, but he is standing in front of him. Taker grabs Sami Zayn by the throat and delivers a pretty brutal choke slam on old Sami Zayn. So, pretty fun way to kick off the program. Like I said, I'm a huge Sami Zayn guy, so anything involving Sammy, I'm pretty much all in on. And to involve The Undertaker too. Got to see The Undertaker's entrance into MSG as the show kicked off. Like that was pretty cool. I said this last night. I'm in California, so Madison Square Garden doesn't quite get me in all the feels the way it does possibly for a New Yorker. But I will say, though, that seeing WWE in Madison Square Garden has been pretty darn cool. It's been a pretty cool thing. So very cool stuff. They cut backstage to Chad Gable, and he's standing there as Shane McMahon approaches and lets Shane let Chad Gable know that Elias has been injured, which I had heard during the day. I had read that supposedly it's a legitimate injury. It's not a work. This is actually, Elias is actually really hurt. So hopefully he gets well soon. They said broken ankle tonight. WWE tends to over embellish sometimes on kayfabe wise as far as what they push their injuries out there. So hopefully it's not an actual broken ankle, and Elias isn't going to be out for an extended period of time. I would imagine that a broken ankle for a wrestler would, especially a wrestler who's a little bit bigger guy, would probably take some time to heal. So hopefully Elias will heal up and get better soon. But Shane said that it was kind of an odd moment. I had also heard during the day that supposedly Vince McMahon, several hours before this event started, before SmackDown started, supposedly Vince rewrote the entire show again, ripped it up and rewrote it. And this moment was one of those kind of just weird, clunky kind of moments that when you hear the rumors that Vince has ripped up the script, and then you see the show and there's just certain things in it that are really off. This was one of those moments. Here you have Gable standing backstage. Shane O'Mac approaches him and says, lets him know of the injury. And the first thing out of Chad Gable's mouth is, yeah, I know. I'm getting a bye. I'm getting a bye into the finals. What a little puke thing to say about a dude getting injured in a tournament, and you're just assuming that you're getting a bye all the way to, into the finals. You've come a long way, yes, but you still got to win one more match before you can get yourself into the final. And your reaction to your opponent being injured is, yeah, cool, sweet, I get a bye. That's pukey. It's a little shit puke thing to do. So I really like Chad Gable. I think he's awesome in the ring. I'm not too sure about what they're doing with him though. They make way too many short jokes. They did it several times in this episode this evening. And again, it reeks of a Vince rewrite. This felt very Vince rewrite and felt like just it didn't work. It didn't work for what I think Chad Gable's character should be. It didn't fit the whole him assuming that he was just going to skirt his way into the finals. Just didn't fit what the whole thing has been to Chad getting to this point, A, in his career, and B, in this tournament, has been he's the underdog and he's the little guy and he fights and scraps. Not he assumes that he gets a bye all the way to the finals or gets a bye in the next match to get him to the finals. I didn't like it. It didn't fit the story that they've been doing at all with him. I just didn't like it. The first actual match of the evening was The Miz taking on Andrade. I wasn't really into this match. I really like Andrade. I'm a huge Andrade fan. And I like The Miz. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of what The Miz does in the ring. I just like The Miz and his character work and the stuff that he does, the everything else that he does, not necessarily the pure in the ring work. So, but with Andrade, he's just dope in the ring. So this match was really kind of one-sided. It seemed like The Miz had the upper hand in this one through most of it. Zelina Vega, at one point, she jumped up on the apron and she was digging at the eyes of The Miz. that allowed Andrade to kind of get a edge in the match, and his portion of the match that in which he was on top, it seemed like it was all because of Zelina Vega, which I know that's a lot of what they've built into Andrade's character, but at the same time, he's a badass, and he didn't feel like a badass at any point of this match. I don't know. After Andrade kind of hits the Miz with a little bit of his offense, he hits the back elbow at one point. The Miz at one point during the match, the Miz does Andrade's tranquilo lay down thing that he does. I wasn't really that into this match. I don't know why. And I like Shinsuke Nakamura was on commentary. I'm a huge Shinsuke guy. The best part of this match to me was Shinsuke on commentary speaking Japanese. He was on commentary, and Byron would ask him a question, and he'd answer it in Japanese, and then Corey would interpret, which I thought was genius. I thought that was beautiful. So that part to me, I thought that was the best part of the match was Shinsuke in the booth speaking Japanese. I thought that was brilliant. I also think that one just quick little thing, to me, a good wrestling production is a lot of little things that add up to it not feeling to the feel of it. I noticed, and I don't know why I just noticed this tonight, that the set for SmackDown actually looked a little bit different. They have the SmackDown announce booth down on the floor next to the ring, whereas for Raw, they have it up at the top of the ramp. I don't know why I'm just now noticing this, but I like that. I like that there is actually a visual difference between the two shows. The two of them tend to bleed together a little bit too much, especially when they moved from Thursday to Tuesday night, and it's back-to-back nights. It really kind of blends together. It tends to bleed from one to the other to me. So I like little things like that separate the shows from one to the next. Anyway, The Miz in this match, he eventually hit his skull-crushing finale and picked up the pin for the win. After the match, Shinsuke Nakamura then came into the ring and attacked The Miz. Again, kind of playing up the heat for their big match. This was the Raw had their go-home show for Clash of Champions last night, and then, of course, this is SmackDown's go-home show for Clash of Champions, so this is the last chance for them to get a little bit of heat on that matchup, and I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm again, a big Shinsuke guy, so I hope he holds on to that belt. I really love The Miz, too, but I just don't think that they've quite done Shinsuke justice. And I don't know that he really gives a shit either. I think that he's done his thing in New Japan, and this feels like his retirement tour. Like, he's over here doing his thing over here, and he can win titles in NXT and be a badass over there, and then come to the main roster and kind of be lost in the mix a little bit. And I don't really think I don't think it really bothers him all that much. I think he's had his moment in the sun, and this is his kind of the last leg of his career here, and I just don't think he really cares. Not that he doesn't give a shit about wrestling, but that I don't believe that if he drops the belt to The Miz. And I also read that The Miz picking up the title at Clash of Champions would tie Jericho for Jericho's Intercontinental Championship reigns in WWE. So don't be surprised if Vince goes ahead and puts that belt on The Miz. And The Miz is a good Intercontinental Champion, so I'll take that. I don't have a problem with that. So Matt Hardy and Apollo Crews were then shown backstage chatting it up in the locker room when Shane O'Mac approached and asked if they had seen Chad Gable. And they did some more Chad Gable short jokes. He did, Chad, he's about to get high. And then Chad walks up to Shane and literally he's just standing inches from him. And Shane basically looks right over the top of him. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. So again, that's another rewrite, stinky, hot pile of garbage. We know he's short. We know Chad Gable's smaller. We get it. Stop it with the short jokes. It's not funny. It doesn't bring heat. It didn't make me want to see Gable beat Shane anymore because of the short jokes at all. It had zero effect. So quit using the short jokes. It's lazy and dumb and doesn't get the job done anyway. Speaking of lazy and dumb and horrible, Mandy Rose. Oh, real quick, I forgot to say, while they were in the locker room, that was when Shane announced that he had decided on an opponent for Chad Gable, for his replacement opponent, and he stepped out of the frame and stepped back into the frame and said, ta-da, it's me. You get to take on the best in the world. Congratulations. Yay. I think that the last person that anybody wanted to see, I would rather see Chad Gable get a bye into the finals before he wrestles Shane McMahon. But, all right. Here we go, I guess, right? It's kind of nice when Shane wasn't on the show for a little while there. It was kind of a nice little break. So, and I like Shane. I just don't like Shane in the ring. I think they can just do more with him. Again, speaking of terrible, Mandy Rose then was scheduled to take on Nikki Cross, and Mandy cut one of the worst promos I think I've heard since Bliss did Baylee, This Is Your Life. It was bad. It was horrendous. She called her ugly. She had a picture put up on the Megatron of Nikki making an ugly face next to Mandy, who's, of course, gorgeous, and said, look at her, isn't she ugly, basically. It was terrible. It was childish, and it didn't, much like the Shane making fun of Gable being short, Mandy Rose making fun of Nikki Cross and calling her ugly, didn't make me want to see Nikki beat up Mandy anymore. It just was stupid. Which is the whole fucking point, right? Is to get these asses in the seats to actually give a about who wins and who. That's the whole point, right? And it did zero for that. So anyway, during this whole teardown of Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss's music hits and she kind of holds out her arm, and out comes Nikki Cross tearing ass down the ramp. She's going to get her a piece of Mandy Rose. And again, this is another situation where it's talent that they've brought up from NXT to main roster in Nikki Cross, and it doesn't feel like they quite know what to do with her. They've put her in this impromptu tag team with Alexa Bliss, which has slowly grown on me, but it totally doesn't fit anything of what they've built with Nikki to this point. So I don't know. Anyway, Nikki Cross eventually picks up the pin and the win with a roll up. Yeah, good luck giving a shit about this one. Heavy Machinery were then shown backstage, and they're back there making smoothies, banana and strawberry smoothies. So they're back there mixing up protein shakes and getting ready for their big match. And I don't know. They didn't really do much in this little backstage segment other than I heard a few tuckies in there, and that's about it. It didn't really do much for me. I don't really like the whole Fear Factor thing where they put weird shit in a blender and then make them drink it. That just doesn't really do it for me. They come back from the break and they show another locker room shot, and it's Ember Moon, and she is confronting Baylee for her actions and her attack on Becky Lynch. And Baylee holds up the belt and she says, look, it's not just for me. It's not just for Sasha. It's not just because of our friendship. I'm also doing this for the SmackDown Championship, and for this division, this locker room. And Baylee says, Ember Moon says, what the problem is you're struggling to be relevant as a champion. Ouch. And especially since Sasha's been back. So some biting words from Ember Moon. Baylee's response is, oh, okay, well, I'll tell you what, you can take all that energy that you got there and you can bring it into the ring and we can go at it. So we're going to get Ember Moon and Baylee again. Heavy Machinery then took on a couple of jobbers. It was funny. They introduced them, and they even showed up on the lower thirds. They said that these two jobbers were Johnny Silver and Alex Keaton, to which even Corey Graves said, oh, wait a minute, you mean Alex Keaton from, well, first I think he said Family Life or Facts of Life first, and then he corrected himself and he said Family Ties, which I used to love that show. So, but the weird thing was that one of the dudes had silver on the back of his trunks, and the other dude had Reynolds on the back of his trunks. So Alex Keaton was wearing Reynolds trunks, apparently. Maybe it was Burt Reynolds. Oh my God, I just figured it out. I was going to say, text me at 209-787-7081 or call and leave me a voicemail. Let me know if you know who this mysterious Reynolds was. But I think I just figured it out. It was Alex Keaton wearing Burt Reynolds trunks. Problem solved. Seriously, though, if you know who this guy is, obviously he's local talent somewhere in New York that they decided that they didn't want to use his real name. Johnny Silver got to use Silver, but apparently they couldn't call him Alex Reynolds, even though he had Reynolds written on the back of his trunks. But anyway, 209-787-7081. Let me know who in the heck who in the heck's this Reynolds was. Alex Keaton. Who is he? And why did he have Reynolds on the back of his trunks? Heavy Machinery pretty much ran through these guys, of course. That's what they were there to do. And they eventually hit the compactor and get the pin for the win. They then cut back to backstage again, and they show Shane O'Mac standing back there. He's talking to some sort of a league official, and Kevin Owens approaches. And Shane tells KO, he says, you asked me to reconsider this $100,000 fine. I am willing to reconsider it, which I thought that last week or even a couple of weeks ago that they already did that Kevin Owens apologized and that then got rid of the $100,000 fine. So Shane then now is rebringing something that he's already agreed to get rid of, and saying that he tells Kevin, he says, I'm willing to reconsider your $100,000 fine. Kevin Owens says, okay, what's the catch? And Shane says, it's not a catch, it's actually a job, and hangs a referee shirt over Kevin's shoulder and tells Kevin Owens that if he does his job right, that he will remove the fine. And of course, Kevin says, well, what do you mean do my job right? And he's, well, just do your job right and make sure that I move on here and I'll get rid of that fine for you. So he's pretty much paid off Kevin Owens. Pretty much paid off the ref to win this match. Dastardly. They then cut to a recap of the whole Roman Reigns mess that they've got going on. They show Daniel Bryan yelling a lot. It's pretty much been that's pretty much been the only goodness that's come out of this promo is a lot of Daniel Bryan yelling. That's pretty much been it. They've pretty much screwed everything else up. I hope that Eric Rowan actually gets a pretty good sized push out of this, and I hope that this isn't one of those things where they kind of give him a push here and then they slide Daniel Bryan into this somehow, and Eric Rowan kind of fades back into the background again and eventually just pretty much goes away again. Hopefully that doesn't happen to him. Hopefully this is the beginning of Rowan actually becoming something and actually doing something with him. They then cut to in-ring, and they introduce Eric Rowan. He is cutting an in-ring promo, talking about it was a very typical big man heel promo, saying that we all thought that he could be controlled, and he's now going to show us that he can't be controlled because nobody can control him, not even Daniel Bryan. Again, super typical. Again, sniffs of a rewrite an hour and a half before the show. Roman Reigns then interrupts Eric Rowan's promo and comes rushing down into the ring. The two of them go at it. Roman hits a Superman punch. Rowan rolls to the outside of the ring. Roman goes to give him a spear, but instead catches a boot. There's a lot of back and forth going on. The two of them end up over the barricade and into the crowd, and this was actually pretty fun. Eric Rowan, as they kind of fight around the first kind of level of seats that are directly behind the ring where the hard cam is pointing, they kind of work their way around that and come back on the other side. And as they do, Roman ends up back over the barricade and ringside, and Eric Rowan walks by a quote unquote fan, and picks up this fan and throws him at Roman Reigns and the pile of security the dudes in security that are around Roman. It was actually pretty fun. I mean, obviously the guy was planted, but it was still pretty cool to see Eric Rowan throw a dude. The two of them then fight their way up the ramp, kind of do a little back and forth where neither one of them is really catching much of an advantage. They're both pretty much just beating the hell out of each other. As they kind of get over by the King of the Ring set where the throne and the crown and everything is all set up over there at the top of the ramp, Eric Rowan grabs a hold of the camera boom that's at the top of the ramp and uses it to swing. He swings it and swings it into Roman. So once again, Eric Rowan is the mastermind using objects to his advantage and attacking Roman Reigns in unconventional ways. So it was actually pretty cool. I actually kind of liked that. It was something different, at least, right? Baylee then took on Ember Moon. It was time for the SmackDown Women's Champion to take on her challenger that she called out because she called her out. Charlotte Flair was on commentary. This was a pretty good match. I didn't think this was as good a match as the one we saw between Baylee and Ember Moon earlier. And I didn't think that that match was as good as they could have been. So we've now had a couple of matches between Baylee and Ember Moon, and to me, they both kind of fizzled a little shorter than what I expected, because they're both really good. So I just expect more out of those two, I think. So, again, Charlotte was on commentary. Eventually, Baylee picks up the win. She gets her Baylee to belly on Ember Moon, just moments after Charlotte Flair said to Corey Graves, she made a comment of, well, they were talking about their Clash of Champions match coming up on Sunday, and Charlotte had just made the comment of, well, Baylee may not even win this match, and it kind of didn't look like at that point, it didn't look like she was going to, which of course she was going to, but the comment fit the moment. And then just moments after that, boom, Baylee hits Baylee to belly, and then ding, 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 picks up the win. So Charlotte then comes into the ring, and I'll tell you what, Charlotte in her ring gear and Charlotte in street gear, she can flash those legs around anytime. She gets a little manly in the upper body, but she's got some legs on her. So Charlotte comes into the ring. She just kind of walks over to Baylee, and she points at the belt, and then she kind of does the belt, the hands across the waist thing. Like, that belt's going to go right here. So it's WWE's MO to not have superstars win in their hometown. And Clash of Champions is in Charlotte. So it's in Charlotte's hometown. I don't know. Otherwise, I said this last night. I could normally I could easily see Charlotte picking up this belt because they're going to Fox here in a few weeks. They're going to be moving from USA to Fox and for SmackDown. And I could definitely see them Fox wanting the belt to be on Charlotte Flair at that point. Makes complete sense to me. So I would not be surprised at all to see Charlotte pick up the belt off of Baylee here in a few days at Clash of Champions. But it's also in her hometown, so that tells me that that's probably not going to happen. They'll probably, I could see it happening on down the road, though. Just before they move over to Fox, I could definitely see that happening. So they then get a shot of Kevin Owens backstage, and he is dealing with his own thoughts and what he is going to do. He's stewing over his decision on what to do. Do the right thing or do the Shane thing. So cool little stuff going on there story-wise. I'm not going to hate on it. I love Kevin Owens. I think that they've kind of drug this whole $100,000 fine thing out way too far. Nobody gave a shit in the first place that a millionaire or a dude that we perceive that makes a lot of money in Kevin Owens is being fined any amount. I don't give a shit if it's $1 million. It's just a number, and I don't buy it anyway. So I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the WWE levying fines to their superstars. It just doesn't really, unless it's something that I've read that's legit, because like Roman, when he got legitimately suspended and fined for failing some drug tests, but some performance enhancing drug tests, I should say. But unless it's something like that, I really don't care that they've been fined. It's meaningless. Kofi Kingston then comes to cut himself an in-ring promo. It's always awesome to see Kofi. He was reminiscing himself again. This was a reminiscing kind of 2 days here. He was reminiscing about 10 years ago in his Falls Count Anywhere match against Randy Orton, where he had the crazy leg drop from the guardrail onto the table that we've all seen 1,000 times now. He is then interrupted by Randy, who laid the wood to old Kof. He said he can't go on listening to Kofi list the 2 things that he's managed to do in the last 10 years, while Randy, has won the World Championship 7 times. He's won the Royal Rumble twice. He had won Money in the Bank. And he said, you know what? None of that matters. What really matters is what's going on right now. And he says, I'm taking that title, Kofi. And he said, I'm going to do it because everything that you've done here, you've been something that you've tried to be something that you're not. He said from that Jamaican accent and the dreadlocks to the phony power of positivity bullshit. So Randy calling out Kofi, and Kofi's reaction to it was absolutely amazing. He just takes his vest off, drops the mic, takes off the belt, walks on out of the ring slowly. He never runs, just walks on out, hops the barricade, walks over to Randy, and presumably to fight him. And Randy, of course, is the Viper, so he is ready for Kofi, and he's got a chair that Kofi didn't see, and he takes the chair to Kofi. Kofi eventually gets the edge back on Randy, and they tried to set up a table that Kofi ended up back on top of, and while Kofi was sitting on the table broke, which I'm assuming that probably wasn't supposed to happen. Kofi then drags out a second table, and he goes up some stairs and gets up on top of this guardrail, a la 10 years ago, exactly like he did 10 years ago. He does the leg drop, the double leg drop off of the barricade down onto the table, and Randy, it looked like he may have possibly hurt Randy. It looked like when he landed that he landed right on Randy's knees, and you could see Randy immediately grab for the knee. I don't know if that's just Randy selling it or if he tweaked on it. He landed right on his knees. It couldn't have felt good. So hopefully Randy's okay and he's not going to have any issues on Sunday. The main event of the night was the Smackdown Blocks final of the King of the Ring tournament, as Chad Gable took on replacement Shane McMahon. Shane, again, making a habit of inserting himself late into tournaments. He, of course, did that with the Best of the World tournament. And now he's doing the same thing with the King of the Ring tournament, which is why I would have assumed that the whole Elias injury was a work, because of the way they put Shane into it, and they had done this before, and the way everything ended up. I would have thought that it was a work, but apparently it's legit. So hopefully Elias gets well soon. So Shane taking on Chad Gable with Kevin Owens as of course, the special guest referee. Chad Gable picks up a pretty quick pinfall in this one. Kevin Owens, of course, does the quick count, and the announcers make mention of, I believe it was Byron that Saxton said was the one that mentioned that Shane early on in the tournament, I believe it was in the first round of the tournament, quick counted Kevin Owens, and then now in the SmackDown final bracket, semifinal of the King of the Ring tournament, now Shane McMahon has now lost the exact same way with a quick count, this time by Kevin Owens. So turnabout was fair play, but just for a moment, as Shane McMahon grabbed a mic and said, no, wait a minute. This match is now best 2 out of 3 falls, and I'm Shane McMahon, and I can do that. So Boo. I kind of just wish they would have just ended it there, but they had bigger fish to fry. They're setting some stuff up. So the match continues, and as the match continues, Kevin Owens is now slow counting Shane O'Mac. When Chad Gable would go for a pin attempt on Shane, Kevin Owens would slow the countdown. When Shane O'Mac would try to pin Chad Gable, Kevin would then go to the fast count. So it's as if by Shane restarting the match and calling it best 2 out of 3, Kevin Owens then saw the handwriting on the wall and started to shift things to where he's not fast counting now for Shane. He's not fast counting against Shane now. He's fast counting for Shane and slow counting for Shane. So he made the switch during the match, which that's good stuff. At the big finish, Gable then locks in an ankle lock on Shane O'Mac, and he had it in there pretty good. And he had the standard ankle lock, like the Kurt Angle style ankle lock, Kurt Angle, Ken Shamrock style ankle lock, where he's standing, and then he flopped over and was really pulling on that leg, and then Shane O'Mac eventually had to tap, which of course is the only way that this match could have ended, with Kevin Owens not being quote unquote at fault. So thinking that Kevin Owens is in the clear, Shane-O is laying out on the mat, crowd's chanting, "You tapped out." Chad Gable is celebrating like crazy. He is the SmackDown representative and has won the SmackDown bracket of the King of the Ring tournament and will be taking on Baron Corbin next Monday in the finals, the King of the Ring final. Why they're not having that match at Clash of the Champions, I'm not too sure, but I guess the King of the Ring isn't a championship, so maybe that's why they didn't want that on that card. I don't know. I would think that, to me, the final of your King of the Ring tournament should be at a pay-per-view. I would think that they would have lined that up a little bit better. But I get why they wouldn't wanted it at Clash of the Champions, because neither one of those men are champions. So King of the Ring is not a championship. Shane-O is still in the ring, and he's limping around, and Kevin Owens is now over by Shane, and he's saying, "Look, what did you want me to do? I literally did all that I could do for you to win this match." You can hear him saying, I did all I could. Literally, I did all that I could for you in this match. And Kevin is going to leave, and Shane O'Mac then turns and gives him a big running lariat from behind and attacks, and he's standing over Kevin Owens, and he's drilling him with lefts and rights. He's kicking on him. He's beating the hell out of Kevin. And he grabs the mic and he says, "You're fired." And then he says it again, and he comes and attacks Kevin some more, and he hits him with the microphone, and he says "fired" a few times, and it was a little bit weird, but it was good, because they were selling at the same time that Shane was hurt. He was just forced to tap out. He's not going to go in full Vince mode and "you're fired." So it was cool. It was good. And it was a good segment, especially for a Shane O'Mac segment. It was really good. So considering that none of us want to see Shane right now, it was good. I'm not too sure about Shane being this involved in the main event, but it's not a perfect world or a perfect wrestling company, is it? So anyway, thank you, folks. I very much appreciate you listening. Again, tell me, guys, what you think about the big return of WWE to MSG. Do you care at all? 209-787-7081. Again, I'm a California kid and over here on the other side of the globe, and I found it pretty cool. And MSG to me doesn't really mean a whole lot, honestly. Being over here in California, it just doesn't hold a lot of weight to me. But that being said, I found these last 2 days to be really cool. I thought the whole thing was just cool. So tell me what you think. 209-787-7081. Again, thank you guys very much for listening. If you could please click subscribe on whatever audio realm you happen to be listening on. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, and share it with a friend. Very much appreciated. Absolutely every little tiny bit helps. I'm still working on growing here, so thank you very much. I'm greatly appreciate everything. Thank you guys so much. The wrestling community has been awesome. So just thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Damn. If I said it, I'm in it to win it. I'm trying to make plays, dog. I'm trying to draw scrimmage. They draw the Simmons, draw this picture. They dragging me up through the sand. These motives they have, they start to question me as a man. But fuck 'em, I show no love. They eyes is full of lust. That's why I got no love, homie. That's why I got no trust. And I ain't a bust. Yeah, this life is rough, but every time I fell, man, I had to pick myself back up.